Alrighty. One of the most important parts of having a properly smoked turkey is to buy the right size turkey. Man, y'all gotta quit buying them ostriches. Man, y'all go out there and buy a turkey that's 23 pounds and be wondering why it ain't done, still pink, take forever to cook. It's because you're cooking an ostrich. It's not a turkey. It's too big. If you need 24 pounds of meat, don't buy a 24-pound turkey. Just buy two 12-pounders. My God, I hate them great big old birds. Them old grizzly birds. Buy a smaller turkey. Alrighty, next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to defrost that thing. Two ways you can do it. You can do it in the Frigidaire, but it's going to be a little late for that. Or you can do the cold water method where you submerge it in a cooler in water and you change water out every 30 minutes. Those are your only options. Or you can buy fresh turkey from the grocery store. Hey, and you got to make sure you prep that turkey properly. So you got to get it home, have this defrosted. You got to trim all them nasty bits up and then loosen the skin away from the meat. And then you want to Jaccard it. So you need to get you a Jaccard and put them holes in there with the Jaccard. I use a 48 blade. That's a good one. They also make a 45 blade, which is easier to take apart and put in the dishwasher. I got the old school model. But you need a Jaccard because that's an integral part of the prep. It makes the brine more effective. Now you also gonna need to brine that joker, so that way you can get the salt and the flavor infused all the way to the bone. Now you ain't gotta put all them lemons and marjoram and thyme and Worcestershire sauce. You ain't gotta put all that. Cause ain't nothing that gonna make a bit of difference. Man, I'm watching people. Oh man, I've been watching people all day. Got a $30 brine. Even to do nothing but pour it down the sink. All you need is salt and water. That's it. Alright. You're going to need to season this joker up. Now, when I say season, I mean season it right. Now, I don't mean like sprinkle fairy dust on it. You got to get in there and season that thing. So you got to make sure the skin is separated from the meat and you can get it up under the thigh, up under the breast, the whole thing. Honestly, you really ain't got to put hardly any rub on the outside of the turkey. Because don't nobody really eat the skin. One last time he was like, ooh, I can't wait to Thanksgiving. Get some of grandmama's turkey skins. Said nobody else. Hey, you gonna probably need a grill to smoke this joker on too. Now, when I say grill, I mean charcoal or wood, not gas. Gas is for farts and fish fries, not barbecue. Man, you need an instant read thermometer. Get an instant read thermometer, one that's digital, that'll give you the readout in under 5 seconds. You don't want that one with the little dial on it, the Harriet Tubman model. You don't want that one. You want to get a digital instant read thermometer. Say it with me. Instant read thermometer. Alright? You gotta rest that thing when it come off. You gotta give it just 30 minutes to rest, to allow the juices and the heat to redistribute. If you don't, you get to see all that juice. You be looking at the plate, you be like, ooh, look at all that juice on the plate. That's the juice that ain't in your meat. So you need to make sure it rests for 30 minutes before you start carving into it. All right, and we live. What's happening, y'all? This is Uncle Bird coming in to you live from Antioch, Tennessee. And today we're going to go over how to prepare your Thanksgiving turkey for the smoker. Now, the first step we got to do is we got to get it cleaned and prepped. The next step is we'll put it in the brine. It'll go into the brine for 48 hours. And then after that, we'll take it out, rinse it off, season it really well, and then we'll get it on the smoker, and then we'll smoke it with some hickory and smoke wood. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Uncle Bird picked up a honeysuckle white fresh young turkey. Now, I do want to point out one thing. Whenever you purchase a turkey, the breast side is almost always going to be on the same side as where all the pretty packaging is. So what we want to do is we want to flip it over, and we want to open it from the back side after we've removed it from the netting. So let's go ahead and get the netting off. I'll just use a 6-inch boning knife. I don't like having a great big long chef's knife to do this. I find a 6-inch boning knife is about the best thing for the job. All right, so let me get this taken out, and we'll put this in the trash. So you want to start at the bottom, because if you cut down here, you don't have to really worry about it. The only thing that you will really nick normally will be the end of the drumsticks. So we're okay. So make a cut. All right, just come on down. And see, right there on the back side. All right, so we don't have to worry about making the skin ugly. All right. Now, if you got one of these things, these are a pop-up thermometer. They ain't worth anything. So you need to go ahead and take that out. It's not going to do anything. So take that out, and we'll use an instant read thermometer from here on out to measure the temperature. Now, this particular bird, you'll have different kinds. The way they bind the legs. You'll have this plastic type here, and then you also have butterball. They don't really have this plastic piece. They cut into the poke's nose and stick the legs down in there. So let's go ahead and get this plastic piece taken off. What we're going to do is push it up. Now, this is the part that's going to require a little effort. This piece normally has the tail, which is also called the poke nose. It's always normally tucked in there, so you want to peel that out. All right, now there's a piece right here. This piece is the piece that you're going to really need to exert most of your effort on. I like to take this part of my finger, which is the strongest part, and just give it even pressure until you feel it come out. See how easy that came out? So you can see how it's shaped. So it comes out pretty easy. Just remember, just use one finger and use even, strong pressure. Now, let's take a look at it. You see how it looks? It's got the fat and stuff. So we're going to trim off. What we're going to do is we're going to trim this fat up, trim this out, so that it's going to give us access to the thighs, so that we'll be able to season them after they come out the brine. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is take out this neck. All right. So inside the frozen turkey, you're going to have the neck, and then you'll have the giblets, which are normally like your livers and etc. And I normally use those for catfish bait. That ain't my cup of tea. All right. A lot of time it'll be tucked right in here. So actually this one's right here. So this is some primo catfish bait. We'll salt this down and go catch us some kitty cats. This, I'm gonna salt the neck down, and then I'm gonna throw this on the smoker with the turkeys, because it makes a really good seasoning meat for like greens or green beans. All right, so this is the part that we got to trim. It really don't take a whole heck of a lot of work. This is the main part that we want to take off, like from right here all the way right there. We're going to cut that out without cutting too much into that. All right, so I'll bring that up. Let's do it so you can see it this way here. All right, cut that. We'll do the same thing on this side. All right. Let's cut this excess off. All right, that's enough of that. Now with the neck, I'd like to turn it over. The neck, if you see any extra part, this part, the back side, you can just cut that off. And if you see anything extra on the neck, the back side of the neck, like these little extra bits here, you want to make sure you go ahead and trim those off. All the ugly bits, so go ahead and get all that off. All right. Now, back at the very front, and in this case, they didn't really leave us much of a neck. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just trim this off, because what you don't want to do is leave all these loose pieces, because those things will catch a lot of heat and they'll end up drying out the meat. All right, so we got a turkey. We got a feather right here. Let's get that joker out of there. All right. Another one. All right, so the next part that we're going to do is we're going to start separating the skin from the turkey. And the reason why we want to do this at this point is because after we Jaccard it, it's going to have a lot of holes in it to make the skin a lot more fragile, and it's more likely to tear. So I wanted to show you the inside of the turkey. All right, as we can kind of see here. All right, there's these parts that you want to separate this. You need to make sure this is open so that you'll be able to, so that it'll be able to accept seasoning when we're ready. So let me just see if I can just cut down in there. All right. All right, so we got a nice little pocket. So now you see you got access to everything. You want to do the same thing on the other side. You see? If anybody knows what this is called, leave me, put it in the comments. I don't know what the technical term for this is. All right. Now you see how we have it exposed. So now that when we come back with our seasoning, we'll be able to season all of this side of the breast, this part, this side of the thigh, and the leg. And what we'll do is we're going to pull this back a little bit too. Just stick your finger in there. All right. All right. So the next thing is how to separate this skin without destroying it. So what you want to do is, this is the part that you want to, area you want to concentrate your finger. So you go underneath the skin, stick right there, and you just run right along that joint, and then you'll be able to wiggle your finger in there. So you'll stick the second one in there, and this, I'm gonna kind of roll my fingers like this to bring it to the edge of the thigh, so that way it doesn't come all the way off. It's a firm, steady pressure. I mean, sometimes you may tear it, but hey, that's okay. We still gonna be able to eat it. All right. So now you can see your hand. All right. It's all in there. If you gotta flip it around, so you gotta work this bird around now. All right. So now, when we're ready, you see this is still attached real tight. Now we could be able to season this entire area where you see your finger at. See my finger. Now we're going to turn around and do the same thing on this side. All right. Finger goes right in this area. You notice there's a hole, so you got to be real careful. Just work your finger in there to separate it. All right. And then get two of them in there. All right. Let's pull this bad boy. All right, and again, this is going to allow us to get all the seasoning. So no matter what kind of seasoning you want to use, you can get it all in there and to cover all of the meat. No more bland bird. No, we're going to do the same thing at the top. We're going to try to hear all that ice. This is supposed to be a fresh, already thawed turkey. It's close enough. All right, so you want to be able to pull this. You want to have this open. So you see this area. This is all area we'll be able to hit with the seasoning. But we want to get even more seasoning on this because we want to max out the flavor. So also take your finger, you want to put it right here and kind of run it down this way. So let me show you. There you go. You get down in there and then free the side up a little bit. But the key is you don't want to go too far. Just stop about midway through the breast. You just want to separate this top part. So now we've got a pocket in there that we can drop our seasoning in. All right, do the same thing on this side. Boom. This one's a little bit easier. All right, separate it about halfway down there. Look, you're able to get seasoning all everywhere in there. No more of that bland turkey. All right. So now the final part is that we're gonna do is we're gonna Jaccard this bad boy. So Jaccard is part of the tenderizing process that I use. Uncle Bird always Jaccards every bit so that it physically severs the muscle fibers, so that when the heat is applied and the muscle fibers contract, they cannot squeeze out moisture. And then I'm also going to brine them, so that's going to chemically tenderize them because it's going to denature the proteins. And then when they reform the protein matrix, they're going to reform in a way that will trap water. So we're going to hit it with the chemical tenderization and then also with the mechanical tenderization. So I basically hit each breast 4 times. I will Jaccard it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I hit this 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and what that does is it also makes the brine much more effective. So let's go ahead and Jaccard this bad boy so you can see how that's done. 1, 2, 3, and then on the side, 4. So keep in mind, this works for smoked turkeys as well as fried turkeys. This same technique works. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right. All right. So now the bird is Jaccarded, and at this point, we're ready to put this bad boy in the brine. Now, what I'm going to do, since I have another turkey that I did earlier, what we're going to do is we're going to brine these in a cooler. Now, my method is a little bit different. Most people put the turkeys in the bags. I don't. I just drop the turkey in the cooler, and then I put ice on top of it. So that way I don't have to worry about the bag busting and the brine spilling, and then it's getting weak, and the process and the brine process doesn't work correctly. So let me go pull this cooler over here. As you can see, I'm completely prepared. All right, let's get started with the brine. First thing we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to take this measuring cup. We're gonna need to place a cup of water in there. So this is gonna be enough for 1 gallon of brine. Now I ain't gonna show y'all the other gallon I'm gonna make up. It's gonna take me to make a couple gallons up to cover these 2 turkeys inside this cooler, but let me go ahead and do the first one for you. All right, let's get some cold water. You do not need hot water. Again, don't need hot water. It's old wives' tale. All right, let's get a cup of water in there. All right, looks good. All right, now the next thing we need to add is salt. Now, at this point, we can use any type of salt. It does not have to be Himalayan salt. It doesn't have to be blessed by a left-handed rabbi. It don't have to be from the Dead Sea. None of that. Just use plain salt. All right. Look at Uncle Bird. He's world-class preparation. I think the only thing I had ready was the burger. 1 second here, y'all. Bird's struggling. He ain't never opened no salt before. You want to edit that out. All right. So what you want to do now is you want to take and pull your salt until it reaches the 1.5 cup mark. All right. Bam! All right. Now we're at 1.5 cups. Well, a little bit over. It's all good. Close enough. So ideally, you want to be on the exact mark, but close enough to be good today. Now the bowl that I'm going to use today is a red bowl. Got it from Walmart. This one, it was just a few bucks, but it does have the markings in it, so I can make sure that I'm only using a total of 1 gallon of liquid. So the way I make this brine, let me rinse it out again, is we're going to pour everything from this cup into the red bowl, and then we're going to fill the red bowl up until it reaches the 1 gallon mark, and then that's where we'll have our brine that we're going to use. If you prefer a little bit less salty brine, what you can do is you can fill it up to 1 gallon and then pour this in. All right, so let's go ahead and make the brine. All right. It's a lot of salt. Don't worry about that. So if you got high blood pressure, you good. You're straight. It's mental. Almost to the 4 quart mark. So if you didn't know, there's 4 quarts in the gallon. So once we hit the 4 quart mark, we're good. All we really need to do is use a plastic spoon to stir this up, make sure it's good and evenly distributed, and then we can pour it on top of the turkeys. Again, world-class preparation. All right, add this up. All right, now we got the turkeys in the brine. The next step is to put the ice into the plastic bag. All right, now you can see we got the bags of ice on top of the turkeys. It's gonna keep everything good and cool. So all we gotta really do now is basically close the top, and I'll check it, and I'll check it tomorrow throughout the day just to make sure the ice stays cold. This is a 5-day cooler. It does a good job of keeping the ice in there for 2 days. So here we go. So it's in the brine. Now all we got to do is wait. Now it's time to season this bird up. We're going to use 2 things to season this bird up. We're going to use 2 items to season this bird up. One is going to be raw cane sugar, so known as sugar in the raw. And then we'll be using Uncle Bird's hen-picked chicken seasoning. Works on all poultry, turkey, ducks, emus, ostriches, everything. All right, so first thing we got to do is one thing you're gonna notice: don't get too worried about patting it down. Everybody's like, you gotta pat it down dry till it's dry. You gotta pat it down till the night. Don't you good? You ain't gotta do none of that. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this bad boy. Try to get it set up right here over the grate, so to kind of sit up for us. Get them legs down in there. All right. All right, so now, remember that pocket that we made? Look at all that area to put seasoning in. So what I do is I season using both of them. I've never found a way to really get the same flavor from the sugar and the raw, because when I tried to blend it up with the hand pick, it just don't blend well, and it falls out because it's too heavy. But anyway, let's get started. All right, so what we're going to do is we can see we got this whole area that we've previously pulled back and exposed on the breast. We'll go ahead and season all that heavily. Look at that. Get down in the side. In this pocket, it's almost like you're dropping it in there. Can you see? You're going to just drop the seasoning in there. And it'll move around, especially when you cook and move the bird around. You see how good we got a nice little even coating. I'm gonna bring it down here, do the same thing in the front. All right, look at that. Now, we're gonna hit it with the sugar. You kind of go heavy. You can go heavy underneath, but then you want to go kind of light when you do it the outside, and that's because the sugar will burn. And in order to prevent it from burning, we want to make sure that we don't have too much on the outside. All right, now this area needs a little bit more seasoning. And it needs to be a little bit seasoned, a little bit more heavily for me. So don't be afraid to go real heavy underneath the skin, because that's really where you're going to get all your flavor from. Now, remember earlier how we had everything separated and we got that skin out? Look at that. Now you're going to be able to hit that whole breast with all this flavor. Look, just dump it down in there. Don't be shy. Do the same thing. Now let me show you with the leg quarter. Remember, we opened up that pocket right here. So now we've got a pocket in which we can drop our seasoning. And you can also pull it out too. See how I pulled that out? Now you can season both sides real heavy. All right. Take your finger and just move the seasoning around in there, or open up this pocket a little bit better. We'll dump a little bit more down in there. Like I said, I go heavy with the seasoning because you essentially don't really have to put much on the outside. All right, now we got to do the other side. All right, now see, look at all that area exposed, just ready to get all that flavor. Look at that. flip this around and we're gonna pull this leg quarter out. You stick your finger in there and you come up to the very top. All right, let me try to turn around. All right, pull it from that way. Stick your hand down in there so that way it'll expose it without tearing the skin too much. Gotta be kind of gentle right here. Pull it down in there. Don't be shy. Let's get some sugar in there. Let's give it some sugar. All right. We'll turn it on the back. The back don't really need no heavy coat of seasoning because it's on the back. And anything will drip down and season that up. So I wouldn't waste a whole lot on the back. I see people do it, but it's pointless. All right. Now with the skin, I do like to put the sugar on first. Kind of makes it sticky. All right. And we're good to go. And again, you don't have to put a ton on the outside of the skin because think about it. How many times have you said to yourself, ooh, it's Thanksgiving. I can't wait to have some of that turkey skin this year. Now, if you're frying it to be a little bit different, you still really don't need to put all of that seasoning on there. In my opinion, it actually tastes better if you put it on there after you take it out of the grease. The way to stick. But anyway, here we go. We got one bird. Now we're going to hit it a little bit down here so we can get that seasoned up good too. Make sure everybody got flavor. And boom. And essentially, this is your bird. That's it. Now, this one is ready. And here's the benefit. As you can see, all that seasoning mess, it's all in the sink. So now you ain't got to worry about no extra dishes. None of that. You just come back, clean up real easy. All right, we out here at the pit. Now, in order to smoke these jokers, we gotta have a fire. All right, so look, this is the way I'm gonna start the fire. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but one of the ways I find to be easiest is just to use some lump charcoal to get everything started and give you a small bed of coals, and it'll get everything lit and going a lot faster. So what we're gonna be using today is gonna be the Weber, the rapid fire chimney starter, and the link will be in the description. We're going to use some royal oak. This is going to give us our coal base to get started. And then we're going to use some plain paper to put underneath the charcoal starter to get the chimney lit. So once we get all this going, it'll take about 15 minutes for these to get hot. And then after that, we'll start building the base of our fire. All right, so let's get started. Alrighty, at the pit. All right, we got the doors open. Time to get these birds on. All right, go ahead and grab this first one. And if you're cooking more than one, and you're using a big offset smoker like we're using today, if you got some that are a little bit bigger, you're gonna want to put those towards the back. At least on my pit, I just know that in the back it tends to run a little bit hotter, and that's where you would want to put your bigger birds. Or if you're just cooking a bunch of pieces, you want to try to orient your bigger pieces towards the back. FYI, if you touch the grill, burn. All right, I'm back. All righty, now there's one thing that I really want to point out about these birds. Now, on a lot of the videos you'll see where they truss the legs up. I don't like that. I don't do that. I like to leave everything wide open because what that does is it helps promote even cooking, and then it allows the smoke to flow all the way through the bird. So we're gonna get a real good, heavy, clean smoke on it, and we're gonna make sure everything is done. So this is the reason why I do this. So it allows the smoke to hit much more surface area by doing this as opposed to closing it up. And then you don't get this area in there where the skin's undone. It's like real rubber. Okay, what I want to point out now is that the way that I have the birds, they're going to have the legs, which is all the dark meat, oriented towards the fire, so they're going to take the brunt of the heat that's coming off of the fire. And then also the legs are not trussed. I do not like trussing the legs on my turkeys or any of my poultry. I like to have the smoke to be able to clearly flow through the bird. That way it gets the smoke in there really deeply, and it makes sure everything is really cooked real properly, and you don't have this part right here that ends up being all done and all undone and pale looking. So that's why I do it. All right, we just got to close this thing up and check on them here in a little bit. At this point, we just really gonna be adding wood and checking temperatures until it's done. So we got a couple hours. So if I was you, pull myself up a bourbon and kick back and just wait for these bad boys to get ready. All right, so in case you're wondering how I manage the fire, I basically use a shovel. So I use the shovel to keep shuffling the pieces of wood around so that we make sure that we maintain really good and fresh and clear airflow. We're back out here at the pit. It's been about 30 minutes. We just want to take a look and see how the birds is doing. Look like they're doing all right to me. All right, so what we're going to do is going to give them probably about another 30 minutes. Then after this next 30 minutes of cooking, we're going to go start hitting them with some distilled white vinegar as the spritz. You don't need to add none of that other stuff in there. Don't put no seasonings, none of that in there. All you're going to do is clog up your spray bottle. Now, if you're using a mop, that's a little bit different, but since we're using the spray bottle in this application, we're going to use distilled white vinegar only. All right, so basically we're looking real good. They're starting to brown up real nice. We don't really need to check the temperature yet, so they've been on for about an hour. We probably got about another 2.5, 3 to go. Now let's go ahead and hit them with some distilled white vinegar. Again, distilled white vinegar. We putting all that other mess on here. Yeah, get in there. All right, y'all, back at the pit. Now it's now 45 minutes later. We're gonna take a look at these birds and see how they coming along. All right, looking pretty good so far, so I can't complain. They're good. We're picking up a lot of color. So let me get y'all in here so you can see that. All right, so all we got to do now is just add a few more pieces of wood to the fire and close it down and just let them do what they do. All right, we're back. Got to check these birds and see how everything's going at this point. always fun. All right, so what we're gonna use is an instant read thermometer to see what our temperature is at this point. So when it's done, it'll be at 165 in the breast and 175 in the thigh. But let's see where we're at. We done. All right, so we right at 163 on the breast, and we at 170, around 172 on the thigh. So it means we can take these bad boys out, and we can go ahead and sit them in the cooler so they can now rest. They'll rise about another 5 degrees. Jokers be ready to eat. Right there on the grill. There we go. They're ready to come off. Look good and pretty. They're good and moist. All right, now, there's one other thing I did want to point out to you now. If you don't have one of these instant read thermometers, which is, there's no reason you shouldn't have one. It's 2020. You're like in 1800s where you at? Anyway, so you should have one of these. If you don't, you always can test them by the joints, because they're going to be the last things that finish. So if once it starts to wiggle freely, like that, yeah, it means they're ready to go. And the skin is crunchy. So wrap these jokers and let them rest in the wrap for about 45 minutes. Alrighty, now we've got our turkeys inside our preheated cooler. So all we really got to do now at this point is just close the top and then wait about 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll be able to dive in. Alrighty, here we go. The grand finale. Now we're going to go ahead and break down this wonderfully delicious bird.